Hello everybody. Welcome to Speakeasy.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men.
Oh, that's...
Alright, this is attempt number 2, so let me try to run through this again. We got more than doubled our subscribers after we were featured on Mr. Dapperton's channel, which, thanks to him, and thanks to Ichabod Orange for making that happen. That was through a collaborative effort from them.
Thank you both.
Yeah, that was awesome of both of you and everybody that's come here since then. I'm definitely happy to have you here. I've had some cool conversations with you guys. You've been commenting on our videos, and they viewed our Principles Are Oppressive, ? Video over 1,700 times.
Wow, it jumped up since the last time I saw that.
Yeah. So, that was cool, and we're happy to have you here, and apparently you guys like our opinions, so I guess we're going to give you more. Awesome. We're actually not normally the type of guys to go around like berating people with our opinion, except that we're very pro-America and pro-gun. We'll kind of fight on those issues, but most of the rest of it, we just let people talk, usually.
You just gotta let people sometimes.
Yeah. We don't usually pick a fight about it, but you guys seem to like what we had to say, and so we came up with this video, which is about Medicare for All.
It's so stupid.
That's the title of the video. Why Medicare for All is stupid. So,
okay.
Very nice. Magic that I didn't even have to consult you for your opinion when I wrote this.
Stuff like that's probably why we've been friends for the, 18 years.
Remember, we can still do it, but we did it like way too much because we were hanging out so much at one point that we just have
sentences?
That, or we'd have like entire conversations without speaking a word.
Yes.
Just start cracking up about something.
Freaking out baby mamas.
Man, this is a nice stick.
I really enjoy it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, why is Medicare for All stupid? I've had this argument with a very socialist Marine that I work with, and he wouldn't take that as an insult that I said it that way.
I'm surprised, but go on.
I'm surprised also. And
John Wayne's
obviously, Bernie Sanders proposed it. The weird chick with the crazy eyes that looks like the overly attached girlfriend that won New York. Democratic primary. You've probably seen pictures of her around, just like... But she's for it, but I think she just parrots Bernie Sanders' opinions anyway. So we wanted to give you a few actual reasons why Medicare for All is stupid. Number one, I think, is the most straightforward, which would be the astronomical cost of it.
Yes.
Bloomberg ran an article with a general estimation of about how much it would cost, and it was $32.6 trillion.
That's a lot of money. What's a Bloomberg?
It's a financial-ish magazine.
Okay.
It's a respected source. And it tends to lean left.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, which is why it's... When you see people that generally agree with that position publish data like that, it's easy to believe. Because it disagrees with what they want to pitch.
Wasn't there a Bloomberg who was mayor of New York or something?
Yeah.
Okay. The name Bloomberg was in my head for something. I didn't know why.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons you should know that name.
Okay.
So they said it would cost $32.6 trillion.
Trillion with a T?
Trillion with a T. The national debt is currently around 19 trillion, I believe.
So it's going to cost 36 of those trillions?
Yes. That would be added to our current debt.
Well, that's just dumb.
So, our current debt at the end of it would be more than doubled. Considerably more than doubled. Closer to tripled. To give you a frame of reference for that, though, like, the Federal Reserve lists $1.2 trillion of actual United States cash tender in circulation. Something like 10 trillion total. That's just numbers in banks and credit and stuff like that. So that's more than 3 times the amount of American dollars in circulation. Not even including just the paper money. It's 30 times the paper money.
So there's...
So you would need to cycle all the paper money. Theoretically, this isn't exactly how it would work. But theoretically, one way you could pay for it is to somehow force the cycling of all the paper money in circulation through the government 30 times a year to pay for this.
No.
Or 30 times to pay for it, yeah.
The least amount of money I can give the government, the happier I will be.
Yeah,
Well, taxation
that's
is
obvious.
theft. That's another reason why that's all horse crap.
Yeah, at the very least, income tax is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I understand paying sales tax.
Mm-hmm. We had a teacher, Kosman, that had a really good idea for taxes and how to get rid of the income tax by increasing the sales tax. And he's like, if you increase the sales tax, at least then you choose how much tax you're paying.
Yeah.
Right? Based on what you buy. But anyway, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. That's like the number one most obvious reason is like even California wouldn't pass a Medicare for all legislation like that. They tried, they failed.
Good. So there's hope.
For the nation, not that state.
Big saw.
Yeah. Let's build the wall like this. Although there's a reason they're trying to split it into 3 states. People in California are trying to split California into 3 states.
So the people farther south who are like, eh.
The south is where a lot of the craziest left people are.
Really?
Yeah. Like NorCal tends to disagree with them on the conversations I've seen and had.
Okay.
So, there's that. Here's the second option, and I'm going to stop here. I meant to do this at the beginning, but it directly pertains to the second option. Read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is a Harvard economist. If you're left and you care, he's black. Funny that you would, but well, you know, it seems like the left, or as a buddy of mine likes to call it, the left-handed lesbian crowd. They're not going to take this serious if I keep insulting them.
Oh no, man.
Is really big on caring if the economist is black.
Okay.
Not in the sense of like he's black so he needs to go away, but like, oh, he's a black Harvard economist, that's awesome. Except he disagrees with you wholeheartedly on this. He makes the most compelling argument in his book Basic Economics, which I recommend everyone read. It should be like required reading. He manages to convey all the economic ideas without getting into complex jargon or ridiculous amounts of charts or anything like that. And the primary point he made, there were several, the primary point that I think is important is the poor management. So, the one argument, I read a This Week article before I did this, to read a couple counter-arguments that were for Medicare for All, right? The big argument that they suggested to manage the astronomical cost of this, because Americans do have high-priced healthcare. Probably because people come from all over the place to get the best healthcare here. And by that I mean, like, when a cancer patient has no other options, they tend to end up here. And they'll throw however much money at it they can to just try to stay alive. Even if they have to spend the rest of that life in debt, they're just happy to be there. So how do you offset those costs? The best argument that I've heard made, if you can call it a good argument, is price controls. Price controls get really dangerous really fast, right? Mm-hmm. The short version of this is there are too many variables for a government body to manage. Government change happens really slowly, if you haven't noticed. Ridiculously slowly. They're just not going to be able to manage the supply and demand effect that prices are, essentially, correctly. They're just not. There's way too many things to manage. They would either have to employ an insane amount of people to enforce their price controls and keep things where it needs to be, or you're going to create something like what we had with price controls during the Great Depression, where, while some of our country was starving, we were burning food. I'm going to cite Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics. He cites the paper where he got that in there, but I can't remember what it is right now. They were literally burning food because the price controls meant that they had to keep some wheat off the market to keep it at that price.
Really?
So people were starving, and we were burning wheat.
Wow.
Or sticking it in warehouses, and it was getting moldy, and we couldn't use it.
Why not just...
Because of the supply and demand effect of the market.
Okay.
You have to control the supply if you want to keep the price in the right spot.
Because if you just let, put it all out on the market...
The prices will sort themselves out. Like
Yeah.
hay did this year.
Yeah. But I can see where if you... In that situation where there are people starving, and where you would want to just, here's some wheat, here's some bread.
Yeah, just give it to them.
Or, make it affordable.
Well, that's what the point of the price controls was to keep it affordable.
Well, then why... But it was keeping it affordable, but also not completely starving out the farmer himself.
Yeah, to some degree. So the government... So that means the government was subsidizing both ends of the equation.
Yeah.
The government was keeping prices low, so therefore subsidizing the consumer, and they had to keep the farmer in business, so they had to subsidize the farmer. So they're spending money at both ends, and they're burning excess wheat in the middle.
And they're making the whole...
To make the equation balance.
But at the same time, doing that was also hurting us as a nation.
Yeah. And Thomas Sowell really, really strongly argues that he thinks that this approach to things greatly prolonged the Great Depression. Sure, it kept some farmers from going under in the short term. But in the long term, it hurt everybody more.
The problem, as I have come to understand the Great Depression itself, was too much government in certain areas and not enough in others.
And there were some natural issues that we couldn't help.
I think it all started with too much, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then...
and there was a financial crisis that came from allowing people to buy stocks on credit, which is kind of like what the housing bubble was in '08, which... I'm not discrediting that. There was also the Dust Bowl, which greatly affected food supply, which is what introduced price controls into that system.
Yep.
And that is, and you can look at more examples than just that. There's tons of examples during Soviet Russia where they did the same kind of thing. There's plenty of examples in Venezuela, which is just my favorite case in point of socialism.
Aren't they dying as a country?
Eat your bunnies.
Oh yeah.
So I want to try to keep this somewhat succinct, so I'll move on to the next argument. But there's more there. I'm just trying to get you started on a thought process and a point that I really think is perfectly explored in Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. And I really recommend you read all of his books, because all of them that I've read so far are awesome. He has a great book, Rebutting Communism as a whole, solely on an economic basis.
Oh, how many books do you read, man?
I've gotten 10 in the last month. My reading list is 180 books long right now.
Oh.
Which at my current rate is going to take a while. But anyway, argument the third, if you will, is the free market argument, right? Shapiro really likes to present this. LASIK has a basically free market because it's essentially considered a
it's like a
cosmetic surgery.
Or like going to a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm. It's a much more free market process, and LASIK when it first came out was like $30,000 an eye.
Yeah.
Now it's like $3,000 an eye. You can get it for less than that, but like your middle of the road, where I would want to go price is about $3,000 an eye.
I got LASIK the other day.
And that happened because that section of the industry is drastically free from heavy regulation and the hand of the government and all of that. Now, for anybody arguing that the free market has been failing our healthcare system up to this point, we haven't had anything resembling a free market healthcare system in the U.S. since at least World War II, and that's when I got tired of going backwards. Probably had something to do with FDR, because he was a big fan of a whole lot of programs like that. And, you know, we had one teacher that really changed my perspective on a lot of things, but particularly on FDR. Yeah. Wasn't sure if he'd want us to use his name, but I don't think he'd care.
Didn't say his first name.
Yeah. He really did a good job of illustrating FDR by presenting his stuff in a way that sounded good to begin with, and then showing us what it actually did in practice.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, most of this stuff was a terrible idea.
Yeah. Up until his class, everything you heard about FDR up until then, he was the president that pulled us out of the Depression. He was one of the greatest presidents we've ever had, and it's like...
And the best evidence that people can give for that, which is an arguably handy bit of evidence, is that he was the only president to serve that many terms.
Yeah. But he shouldn't have served that many terms.
No, he shouldn't have. He played the game till he died. That's not how the presidency is supposed to work.
He was more of a king during that time.
Yeah. The argument was made to me by my socialist Marine friend, that we'll call him, that I work with, that on those grounds, because I made decent arguments. He and I had a long, lengthy, hourly conversation about this. Like, multi-hour discussion. And he was like, well, maybe we should introduce Medicare for All as an opt-in, opt-out system. Meaning you can choose not to go in on it, and you can choose then not to pay the taxes for it if you're not going in on it. Here's my problem with that. You are putting the government into the free market system in competition with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
The government is supposed to set the rules within which the free market can work.
So why is the
government... how can the referee fairly compete in the game?
It's like a ref hopping in and punching Mike Tyson or something.
It reminds me of my son when we played soccer with him when he was little. He would constantly change the rules to make it almost impossible to beat him.
Yeah.
Even though he was like 3 and playing 2 adults. And I mean, it's not like we were berating this kid anyway, but you know, young kids do that. They don't understand why the game needs to be fair if you want people to play. And one of the functions of government is to set the lines within which the free market can exist and operate. And if you put them competing in it, they can just change the rules to slant with them. And if you say they won't, maybe not the first guy, maybe not the second guy, but by the third or fourth guy, they're going to do it.
It's just naive.
And I think it's naive in the first place to actually suggest that this would be introduced as an opt-out option. Because Obamacare was not introduced as an opt-out option.
No.
It was introduced as a do it or we're taking your money.
They took some of my money.
Yeah. So...
well, yeah.
I don't think that could even happen. But even if it did, it wouldn't be fair or correct. And I think that would be our biggest 3 reasons, unless you have more to add, as to why that system really just doesn't work.
I don't have any more to add. I know that I can just give examples as to why free market would probably be the best way to go about Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
Like insurance.
Well, and if you think Obamacare did anything good for you and wasn't at all slanted towards insurance companies, Look at what it did, which was actually force you to buy insurance. It didn't do anything with healthcare. And then look at the top 10 lobbyists to the U.S. government. The top, 5, with exception of, I think, 1, were all pharmaceutical and medical insurance companies.
And
now we were being forced, until Trump removed the mandate, to buy their product.
And luckily, up until this last birthday, I had medical insurance through my mom. So that didn't get me, but it got my wife. And
that was a symptom of Obamacare. He extended the age and that you could stay under your mom. But it wouldn't have been an issue if he wasn't going to fine you for not buying it.
Yeah, it would have been.
How many times did you go to the doctor while you were on your mom's insurance? After you moved out of the house. Okay, after you moved out of the house may not be the best gauge. After you turned 21.
After I turned 21?
Yeah.
I went to the doctor once, and then it didn't go back to the doctor until December of last year.
Yeah.
No, twice. December the year before, I got cat scratch fever.
Anyway.
Yeah, when I hurt my back, I just the chiropractor.
Which would have been cheaper if you didn't have insurance.
Yes.
Because it's a free market system.
Well,
More of a free market system than our regular.
I'm actually paying the same.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So, there's that. You can point to examples like, there was one, I believe it was one of the Nordic countries, where they're not allowed to discriminate on who gets what surgery, whatever that surgery may be, right? So you just, I need this surgery, you get in line. So there were people that needed limb replacements, like old people that needed, say, a hip replacement, waiting when some, teenage girl got a breast implant job done. She got prioritized over them because it was first come, first serve, and they weren't allowed to discriminate. It's a perfect example of just piss poor management.
Yeah. I think they should go by necessity, but...
Or maybe you could pay to move ahead in the system with a lot like a capitalist exchange.
Yeah.
I'll pay more to get this done now.
Yeah.
Or I'll pay less and do it in your down season.
It's like going to a restaurant that doesn't serve like a really, really good mixed drink you like. And then being like, you know what? Here's $10. Make me one.
That's a great example. Where'd you get that?
I don't know. It just came to me, I guess.
Via text message.
It might have been via text message, yes.
Yeah, I did that last week. I asked for an old fashioned, and they were like, do you see it on the menu? And I was like, here's $10. Can I get one? Sure, let me get that for you.
Let me pull up the Googles.
Oh, the bartender knew how to make it.
Oh, it just wasn't on the menu.
She just told me that she couldn't give me bourbon in it. And then I was like, you have a bourbon right there, that bullet bourbon. And she's like, oh, my bad. Made it. She was going to give me rye. Which, okay.
Yeah.
But I wanted bullet bourbon, so I got bullet bourbon.
Makes sense. Bourbon's better.
So I think that's all. I'd be interested to have some discussion in the comments, although I'm betting most of the people here are going to agree with us. But if you disagree, by all means, tell us why. Give us a compelling argument for Medicare for All, because I'm happy to change my mind based on actual good evidence. Although you have to understand that I am going to prioritize freedom of choice over anything else. So, if I'm not free to choose whether or not I participate, I'm not a happy camper.
Yeah. Yes.
Put it gently. And
I will not be
maybe take that into account. But I think that's it. You got anything else?
No.
Cool. Till we see you again, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men. Hey everybody, if you like this video, hit a like or dislike, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you really like what we're doing, check us out over on Facebook, where we post every day.